Hi, it's Richard Langley here again on another hiking journey. A bit of exploration today in Linneryd, Sweden. This is in the province of Småland. It's a beautiful little village that probably saw much greater days in the past. A lot of people have moved out and stores have closed, and there's no post office, the typical scene out in the countryside. But we're in search today of an ancient pilgrim trail. It's called the St. Sigfridsleden, the St. Sigfrid Trail. And it's named after an English missionary who came to Sweden around the year 1030. That's just about 1,000 years ago, pretty close. And he became eventually, after a long story, the bishop in Växjö and visited a lot of the so-called um, pagan ritual sites and changed them to Christian sites and so on. And anyway, his trail, which is about 100, well, I'll just roughly say about 100 kilometers, goes between here southern Småland, where I am in Linneryd, up towards Växjö, which is the capital. And we're in search of the trail here because it's quite mysterious. And it's not always so well marked. Here in Linneryd, it's often not even included on the trail, but I know from previous visits that it's well signed. And like most pilgrim trails in the Christian world, this trail leads up to the church, the beautiful Linneryd's church off there in the background. Well, why am I interested in the St. Sigfrid's Trail? The reason is because I love hiking and I love just being out there exploring. There's incredible history buried in the ancient networks of trails that crisscrossed all of Europe. And it's very little known except for the famous trails, like the one going to Santiago de Compostela. And as a matter of fact, my background research has informed me that this little 100-kilometer section of trail is actually a part of the famous ancient trail that, in principle, at least for the Nordic side, on the northern side, started up near Trondheim in Norway, and then crosses westward through, or sorry, no, eastward, right, crosses eastward through Norway towards Sweden and over the mountains and then down through Sweden. And this is part of the trail going all the way to Spain, about 4,000 kilometers in distance from Trondheim, all the way down to Santiago de Compostela. So it's really fascinating. You could literally just keep walking from here today in this late fall day. It's the 30th of October, and just keep walking and end up in Spain, crossing France and Denmark and I guess a piece, yes, Germany in between. So, and then of course there's a whole network of the trails all across Europe that lead into the main trail going to Santiago. Now, the thing about it being badly marked is that you have to follow your instincts a lot. You know, you have to just go by the feeling in the pit of your stomach and your experience, and it takes a lot of educated guessing. If you're like me and just happen to be wandering around the forests of Småland, especially around Linneryd now and then, you can be surprised by a lot of things you found. And one thing that I was surprised to find were these, I was following a little trail in the forest by a lake, and suddenly there were these beautiful signs that said St. Sigfridsleden. And that really amazed me because I hadn't heard of it before. So I decided to figure it out. And I started following the trail in the forest for some time, and suddenly it disappeared. The signing stopped, and I came to a forestry road, and there was no more signing, but I just kept walking, and eventually, after probably a kilometer, I found another sign. And so my luck was right, you know, having picked the right road to go on, and eventually picked up a piece of the trail. But that first day, some time ago, when I first happened across those signs for the St. Sigfrid Trail, I ended up eventually on a little, this is the kind of little, this was the little forest workers road that I ended up on, going deeper and deeper into the bush. But I did have my telephone along with trusty Google Maps, and so I could at least confirm my location, and I knew that I was heading back to the village, so it wasn't too bad. And I just kept wandering along, and as the map would have it, I eventually ended up approaching the outskirts of the village, which is just consists of so many beautiful old homes in the traditional Småland style, really old buildings. These old houses are in different states of repair, but very often in beautiful shape. And anyway, the blend of forest and old homes was really beguiling. For example, this little old farmer's house, or forest worker's house from aeons ago. But what happened after following this forest road for a couple of kilometers was I popped out onto this beautiful little paved road here, and consulted my map, and the town of, or village I suppose, of Linneryd was off to the left. So I started walking, and lo and behold, my travails were rewarded when, to my great surprise, I came across one of the long sought after, famous, beautiful signs from, you see Tingsryd's commune. That's Linneryd is part of Tingsryd's commune here. Tingsryd has even been written about in the New York Times as a site of entrepreneurship and so on, a real place of innovation and gung-ho can-do. Linneryd's main industry these days is a huge sawmill and lumber processing plant. And walking along, I just felt so rewarded anyway, because this is a part of Linneryd I'd never been in before. You know, you come across beautiful old homes like this one here, just so fascinating, now with a TV antenna on top, but it's often hard to guess how old these are. They're probably, I mean, I guess this one is at least 200 years old, I would imagine, but it's been well maintained. And you can see by the old stone portals here and the beautiful carved door, traditional door there, that this is really a treasure. And it's so happy to see it so well maintained. But having found this one sign, I thought, okay, we're on the trail, now what? Something incredible about Småland is that it's still a landscape that is totally dominated by the effects of the Ice Age. So what we're looking at here is a remnant of the Ice Age. Of course it didn't look so linear and well ordered, it was more chaotic. But they say about Småland that what they farm here is stones and rocks. And you know, this huge inland plain and plateau of Sweden is just totally made up of ancient moraine from the Ice Age. And these stone walls, you know, it's like Machu Picchu. These for me represent centuries of hard work, people with a dream of making a home and productive life out of raw nature, and transforming the Ice Age landscape into one where you have a really bustling local economy and much beauty. But so it was that I continued down this little country lane here, moving along, just really curious the whole time about where St. Sigfrid's trail would take me, and if I really was going to find other evidence. It's just lovely walking anyway. It doesn't matter if you have a nice little day pack with a lunch in there and a thermos of hot water or tea or coffee, you can have a really great day. Such a variety of old places all along. Yeah, and what do you know? Once in a while there's a car that comes along just to remind you that it is a road and that you are approaching a town as you wander through, just exploring the lovely maintained homes. Still beautifully, lovingly maintained by their inhabitants here. It's really great. Because on the other hand, as you walk through town, also you can see many abandoned homes that someone could just move into and restore. It'd be quite a project, but all over Småland you can do that. You can find houses like that. But here you go. This is how it is. You see, I haven't seen another sign yet, and I've walked about half a kilometer. Been enjoying it though, but moving towards the center of town, and given the character and history of pilgrim trails, you know that with every town there's basically one destination, and that's the church. And so what I do know is when I came to this crossroads here, you know, it's literally 4 directions and no going back. And so coming to this crossroads, I knew that the church was straight ahead of me. So I went off across the road, walking quickly. It's a bit of a drizzle today, so it's nice to keep walking, to keep warm. But I went along, and guess what? There, sure enough, was a bit of a help, you know, showing me that, yes, this is the way. And of course the arrow just points one way to the church. And I always think it's interesting that there's an assumption there that you're going one way, but you could walk 2 ways on a trail, right? Linneryd has a really active historical society that has done a great job through the years of preserving ancient buildings, even though they're in wood and basically nature, just wanting to restore them back to the forest floor. But this is one of the old smithies, blacksmiths shops. It was built in 1865 and was restored in 1991. And this was a sheet metal worker and blacksmith. And back here you have, you know, the various sheds and workshops there. And of course, you know, you can visit this at certain times a year when they open up all the old buildings. And of course, school groups come here a lot. Oh, you can see a little bit in there. They've, you know, maintained a lot of the tools. And this is just looking through the window, of course. You got to do what you can when places are closed, right? Yeah, let's go along here and see what we can see. Oh, yeah. A lot of reflection there on the glass, but wow, what a place, eh? Totally self-contained, self-sustained. Everything's there. There's an old oven, or you know, the place with the crucible where you heat the metal and melt it. But back on the road, we have a mission. So I figure, anyway, we just keep going towards the church where I showed you before, and we'll see how much time we have today to reveal some of the other secrets of the St. Sigfrid's Trail here in and around Linneryd. I was just talking to some lovely people in their garden over there, you know, getting the garden ready for winter here, but they didn't want to appear on film, and I just, you know, people are shy about that. But they got more and more interested as I explained what I was doing. And first I asked them if they knew anything about St. Sigfridsleden, and the fellow started to explain that he thought it went over there. And then I asked another question, but it seemed that his wife knew better, so he called her over. We had a little conference there, and they actually didn't know that the signs are posted right outside on their street, and that you can just walk out here onto their street and start walking towards Spain. And they were really charmed and surprised by that idea, of course. So maybe they got turned on to the idea of learning more about it. And although his wife was quite knowledgeable about the trail in general in the commune, but not so knowledgeable about the details right here through Linneryd. But this is what the economics of change and the modern world have done. You know, this is so typical here for these small towns in Småland. This used to be sort of a local grocery store, and it's boomed up now and shuttered, and somebody's using it as some sort of a warehouse, it seems. I've never seen anybody in there. But all along the way you see buildings that used to be for something else, and at best they've been converted into homes. This lovely old place over here was an old inn from the old days, and now it's a private home, but it's just so incredibly beautiful, so rustic and charming, with the real feeling of history and so on. So it must have been great to eat here and stay here in the past, when this was a bustling little town. I mean, it's a lovely little town now, and the big campaign at the moment is to save the indoor swimming pool, which is the lifeblood of the town, but which the commune wants to close. Of sort of political reasons and where they want to distribute their resources. The kind of struggles that are going on, and it seems that the big local sawmill isn't interested in helping out, so it's probably going to close. And we were there last night at Halloween, and the village had used it as their central Halloween center for kids and stuff to celebrate and have a big Halloween party together, and it's just so great. But that will be gone. One is just crossing one's fingers, hoping that Linneryd will be able to keep its beautiful bathhouse, which is a vibrant hub of the community. Well, basically I'm doing a little transit of the village here, where I know there's another part of the St. Sigfrid's Trail, and just giving you some scenes along the way. But you see, there aren't any signs in sight at all. There's the church over there. We're just doing a bit of a shortcut around, scooting around the church. We've been there before, so you can visit Linneryd sometimes. It's really great. This is the area from which over 1 million Swedes left Sweden in a 25-year period in the late 1800s to emigrate to America and Canada. 1/4 of the entire Swedish population left this area. At that time there were 4 million people, and 1/4 of them left, almost all of them from here, and traveled by sea from the Baltic coast. They went east first to go west over the Atlantic because they could get the ships there, it was closer, and then usually around to Denmark or Gothenburg. And here is this is where the local historical society has their museum here. So it's, the lake in the center of town is really cared for. They have trout fishing there and parks and so on. So it's lovely green areas. I mean, it's a terrific place for families if you know what you're doing here, if you have something to do. I'll just show the museum from the front. It's open during the summers, of course, but it's all volunteer, right? There, it's called Hembygdsmuseum. That sort of means like the town and country, I suppose, or the kind of community museum. So we're just going to see if we can pick up the other end of the trail from the other end of town here, and I'll give you a look at that. This is what used to be the senior citizens home here in Linneryd. Again, typical of what's happening nowadays. They closed it down, and so people from around here, as they got older, instead of being able to move into a senior citizens home that was close to their families and relatives and grandchildren and great-grandchildren all around, they have been moved a little more than 20 kilometers away, and this has been turned into apartment dwelling. Yeah, so off there in the distance you can see there's another intersection coming up, and because of the blue sign there, that indicates we're getting to the edge of town where the town streets are meeting the highways. So we'll go check that out and see what's happening with the St. Sigfrid's Trail. Yeah, a lot of variety along here. This is what makes me think like walking is best. Walking is absolutely the most educational way to travel through the world. You learn about society and history on so many levels, and of course it's most intense at your personal level, but when you get a chance to meet the local people and talk and see what's happening and how things are changing and smell, like right now it smells like wood smoke, because a lot of people heat their homes with firewood here, naturally, since we're in the center of one of the greatest forests in Europe. And it's not for nothing that IKEA, or IKEA as Swedes call it, has its home town, Älmhult, not too far from here, about 50 kilometers. And you know, IKEA is now a worldwide company selling furniture and everything else related to home life all around the world. And its main seat is still, was only, you know, and started IKEA, Ingvar Kamprad, some 50 kilometers from here. Yeah, you know, you just scan as you walk along and it all just rolls by and you never really are sure what's going to be coming at you, and you're surprised all the time. And like this beautiful home here. And a few years ago we were really surprised because after many years when there were no businesses whatever left in Linneryd, and which is amazing, surprising considering its long history as a regional center and commercial center and services center, it eventually you know, and lost all that. But a few years ago the first little business opened up, and that was, you know, a gas station with a sort of corner grocery store, a little bit of a mini general store that's supplying the locals, you know, so you don't have to drive 20 kilometers because you need a liter of milk, you know, or a loaf of bread, or a can of baked beans, you know, or sausages, or whatever you're looking for. You can get them right here, and they have a little cafe there with homemade pastries and stuff. So it's a charming little site where you can sit down and talk to people and warm yourself up when you're hiking through Linneryd. And if you have informed yourself well, you know that actually Linneryd has a beautiful little campground by a lake, a great bathing lake, swimming lake, 1 kilometer out of town, and it happens to be on the St. Sigfrid Trail, thankfully, and that's a lifesaver. And they even have a little restaurant there where you can, they're a German couple running that camping, and they have their own homemade sausages and homemade dishes that they serve there, and you can have a breakfast in the morning if you like, all prepared, fresh baked buns and sandwiches and stuff, and other breakfasty things, and especially coffee. And here we go, you see, we picked it up right here by the big highway sign, and we picked up the trail. And this is a beautiful trail actually, because this is the old trail that goes around the Linneryd Lake. And lo and behold, here we are again after walking about a kilometer without seeing any signs, but at the other edge of town. And for some reason they've got it going north, but you know, Spain is going south the other way. And so it's just interesting to reflect on what's behind the signing and who's going where and why they want you to do things. And here it disappears off into the forest. The trail goes off in the forest towards the camping, and it's well marked until there. And then from the camping, it's well marked from there for a few kilometers going north around the lake. And then you have to rely on whatever information you can pick up elsewhere, because it's very hard to follow for a while. Here we go, local farmer. All right, well, so thanks for following along with me there as we traversed Linneryd, came into Linneryd and out the other side, exploring the St. Sigfrid's Trail. And remember, this is a trail that's part of the big one all the way down to Santiago de Compostela in Spain, more than 3,000 kilometers from here. So pick up your backpack, start walking, enjoy being out there, explore the world. And join me here again on another exploration of walking, wandering, hiking, trekking through our great world, where we'll be experiencing things firsthand, on the spot, live. So hang in there, enjoy those trails.